Hey guys, so I haven't done a Shadow Daggers Bladedancer build yet because simply it's like one of the most popular meta builds out there, and I try to avoid meta builds to showcase a little bit more build variety to bring something new. Um, but well, since it's one of the most popular one, I also thought that I will showcase like my version how I played. I mean, it's not like that different of many guys that you already see on YouTube or Maxroll, whatever. But there are certain mechanics that I avoided for my build guide that I saw on other content creators, and I will pretty much tell you why I choose certain stats or nodes in the skill tree, because it's just like mostly related to my playstyle, and it helps me out to pretty much like survive more often. My whole setup is just for speed farming. I use Shadow Daggers only to get gear as quick as possible. That's why it's also one of the best league starters probably for 1.0. We will see on Monday. The patch notes will come out. I think the build will see a nerf. That's why I wanted to upload it now. I will also link a build planner for it, and if there's some nerf, I will definitely bring like a new video for it, and also like change the build planner here in the description. So yeah, just a showcase how I play it. It's like I said, it's not that different, but just some mechanics for also new players that haven't seen the build yet, because so many new players will come in, and it's pretty much like a very classic Shadow Dagger setup. But for me, like I said, speed farming to go from echo to echo as quick as possible, also to get as much gear as possible. As you can see, I'm trying to avoid enemies, not by jumping directly into them, just to get to keep the perfection stacks up as high as possible. And that's pretty much also the reason how or why I survive that often. Because I mean, there's also the popular ward version that is maybe like better also for defenses and survivability. But at the end of the day, to be honest, I do build guides for the casuals. I think like 90% of my viewers are casuals, and I wanted to keep it as simple as possible for them to adapt, so that pretty much everyone can start this build. And I also try to like give you all the reasons why I choose the certain mechanics that I chose on my build. So, as I said before, jumping away from the enemies, the explosion Umbral Blades will pretty much like cover more AoE, so that I can be far away from the enemies, and therefore also my perfection stacks are up. So it gives me more armor, it gives me more dodge. I could like go a little bit more into the enemies, but it depends a little bit, of course, also on the situation, what enemies are there. This comes with game knowledge, but pretty simple playstyle. I just like to sync strike shift all the time. I usually don't like to self-cast it, even though there's the possibility to get the dust shrouds out faster. But I think this is just like a very like comfortable playstyle to just use like two skills, sync strike shift, and deal a shit ton of damage. Same with bosses. I mean, if I go for bosses, I could simply switch my gear to this. I have a little bit more crit. Normally you want the katana for it, because then you have more crit multi. But I prefer speed and quality of life for all my builds, so I just take a little bit of DPS away and just have fun, to be honest. That's always what I'm going for. I just want to have fun on my builds, and as you can see, you can do all the content also here. I mean, most of you probably played Shadow Daggers already. Very strong build, but you know, some setups are just like easier to get, and that's probably where also my viewers are coming from, more casuals, so that they can relate a little bit more to what I do. Basically, I'm not the type of a min-maxer. I like to keep it simple. I like to have fun, and that's why I pretty much showcase all the builds on around like 300 to 500 corruption, where it's pretty much like most comfortable to farm, and also where to get pretty much every item in the game. So, how do I play it? I play dual Smoke Weaver simply just because of one reason, because of the cooldown. Also, we get a shit ton of dodge rating, which I will go over later with the skills and with the passive. So we get a lot of defensive actually with this build. And like I said before, it just feels way smoother if you can just sync strike, shift all the time, rather than just self-casting the Umbral Blades. this is like a perfect playstyle for me, to get gear as quick as possible, to farm echoes as fast as possible. So very, very cool playstyle. Just pretty much 2 buttons. If there's a boss fight, I press smoke bomb, simply because of the buff here, and then I do the same rotation. So yeah, a lot of damage. It's not like the best boss killer. So pretty much when I want to farm T4 bosses, I would still prefer a Chakram over this build. But in general, it's just like, because of all the mechanics that the build has, it's still like one of the, or pretty much the best like Bladedancer build out there for now. Let's go over the skills. Most of the build guides that I saw are just going for this part here with the Blade Storm. I actually like to add the explosions here, because I tested it also. I swapped even during a boss fight. It's not that much of a difference, but actually this one gives me more single target DPS, and also because the explosions are so big, you cover a lot of the screen. So pretty much what I don't like to do is, if this is an enemy, to jump inside of it, because then also the chance to lose your perfection stacks are way higher. I always try to avoid it, jump a little bit back, and still, even though if I'm far away, like the explosions hit so much that you will still hit the enemies around you. So it's a good offensive playstyle, but also, like I said, more survivability just because of your playstyle to stay a little bit away from the enemies. It's pretty much a melee build, so it's up to your playstyle if you survive or not. And that's why I chose this one for more quality of life, but at the same time also more DPS at the end. The whole setup, like pretty much the casual Umbral Blades setup, you start with this node here, then you go Shadow Daggers, then you go with this one, then you pretty much rush this one. Also really important in the beginning, if you level this build to do the self-cast, I would recommend also to level as the self-cast version, because in the beginning, if you use Sync Strike, you will still have a little bit of mana problems. So through the story you can always do like a Sync Strike, Umbral Blades combo, and later if you have more mana regen, you can just leave out the self-cast combo and just do this. But yeah, it's pretty much going here, then probably to go here for the positioning, then go with the Blade Storms. You will get the explosions later, and then at the end you can go a little bit more for chill chance. It's pretty much the only reason to go here, because chill is something it's hard to get on gear. But if you don't like to play dual smoke weavers, you can just simply swap this one. Of course, a katana will be better because of the crit multi, but those are pretty much all the stats that you need on your second weapon. Second one is Shadow Cascade, because like Umbral Blades this one and Shadow Cascade this one is pretty much the reason why this build is so strong. You start here for the mana sustain, then you rush the Shadow Daggers, so you throw the daggers, put 1 point here to get the crazy Shadow Dagger proc chance. After you get this node, you go with the range. Of course, also here to get a little bit more damage, depending if you wield dagger or swords, which is pretty much like the arsenal for every Bladedancer build right now. And I like to go with the frailty. There are some that go for the physical damage, but frailty is pretty cool because, like I said, you stay away from the enemies, and also the daggers can like affect frailty on other enemies. For shift, I do my personal favorite setup, to go cooldown, to go speed, to proc the Shadow Cascade after shift, the classic setup. Also then I go for mana, invulnerability, a little bit of dodge. I see a lot of people go here, which I actually don't understand, because if you shift in, I mean, you have a cooldown of 2.2 seconds and you get just like one blade out there. I mean, just to consider like how many Shadow Dagger stacks you can get for 2 skills coming from here, I think this is just a waste of points, to be honest, and I prefer to go 4 points here for the kill threshold. Single target is, I think, the weakness of this build, and therefore to kill like earlier, I mean, this is way more quality of life than this, in my opinion. So pretty much the classic shift setup for me. Sync Strike also looks a little bit different to a couple of different content creators. I would always go here first for the mana efficiency, then 2 points here is enough. This one for the big damage. While leveling, leave this point out and just save a little bit of mana. Then you have, okay, you have less shadows, but still, there's so much damage, you don't need it in the beginning, only for the end game if you have a lot of mana regen. After that, I prefer to go here for the Crimson Shot and for the damage reduction. This one I always like to take because it gives always health gain if you cast some of the shadows around you. But before I went here, I also put 5 points into here. You would think, okay, why are you scaling attack speed? Because like a shift, or you're not really attacking by yourself. The thing is that Sync Strike scales with attack speed. So if you have a little bit of attack speed, the actual animation is faster, and therefore also your survivability is faster, because you can easily dodge enemies because of the 25%, which is actually a lot and feels a lot smoother to play. And the last one, Smoke Bomb, is just pretty much really important for Shadow Daggers because of this node, a lot of increased damage. So I would rush this node right here. You can get a bit of leech. You can go with the classic Silver Shot setup. I like to also use the Cleanse. And the rest of the points is pretty much up to you. I get a little bit of slow, Dust Shroud, some duration also. Like I said, it's just for harder bosses or high HP enemies to have a little bit more like damage uptime. Passives, also classic setup, 8 points here for damage and for attack speed. 1 point here, 1 point here first, 5 points here for leveling to get increased damage for movement speed. 1 point here for dual wielding, and then max out this one. Then you have access after 20 points to go into Bladedancer. I always like to put 5 points into here for the movement speed and also for the increased melee and throwing attack damage, which scales both for Shadow Daggers. This one is really strong early on because it also affects like Shadow Daggers with the high damage effectiveness. Then I pretty much put points into here and a little bit more health. With this one later and this one combined, you get a lot of glancing blow chance. This one, as always, a really powerful node to give you a lot of leech. 1.1 for the Silver Shot for a guaranteed dodge. 1 point into here, we don't scale crit chance because Shadow Daggers can always crit, so only 1 here. And then you can max out this node to get a shit ton of crit multi. After this, I would go with the perfection stacks actually here. You get a shit ton of armor, you get a shit ton of dodge rating, also some increased damage while full health. You're pretty much always on full health if you just like run around, jump around with the Sync Strike, with the leech that you have, with this node right here, so always full damage. And like I said, if you have all the stacks up, you will see a lot of armor and dodge rating just because of the perfection stacks actually here. 1 point into here, simply because if you press Sync Strike, you have 4 shadows. If I press Shift, there's the 5th shadow out, so you have more explosions, so pretty much 5 Umbral Blades, sorry, that are exploding. That means more overlap, that means more damage, and also the Shadow Cascade is proccing, so a lot of more daggers that are flying out. So yeah, also more Shadow Dagger stacks actually that are proccing. This one, because we have so many points over, if you, for example, compare it to a regular Shadow Cascade build, that I can put it into here. Minus damage taken is always good, of course, if it gets a little bit more dangerous. Other than that, you could leave out this node, you don't have to take it. You could also put it in attack speed for more quality of life a little bit while jumping. You could also put it into a little bit more defensive, like health here. But that's pretty much for the Bladedancer tree. Then I came back to this tree just to cap the dodge, get more health, get a little bit of dex. And this one is also really good. We got a lot of percent dodge rating, which comes in handy with the Smoke Weaver because they have a lot of flat dodge rating, and also of course with the Bladedancer mastery bonus here. So it's a really good synergy that is working out actually really good for this build. Like I said, Smoke Weaver, try to get flat physical damage on top of it. I got 2 of them. One is I think T6, the other one is T5 here. If you have 2 LP, try to get the crit multi on top of it. Other than that, I have pretty decent gear, to be honest. I have a Rocker with throwing damage. You can also, of course, try to get the hybrid on top of it. Rest of the gear, Fist Pen on Shadow Dagger here, Fist Pen on Shadow Dagger here. Get as much health as possible. Crit avoidance, increased health. This one I think I got from my Chakram. I just switched it. As much health, throwing damage. You can also get mana regen and try to get the cleanse on top of it. I didn't really need it so far because my leech is just so strong, but normally you want to have like a T1 cleanse on top of this one. as you can see, pretty decent gear, nothing too special. This one is a pretty good rare ring. Also, it's decent. Really fine gear actually. Throwing damage, crit multi, really easy to scale Shadow Daggers in general. And for the idols, you can also get 4 of them with the fist pen on Shadow Daggers to get a little bit more damage. But as always, you can also just like stack resistances, health if you want to. It's pretty much up to you. So always look over your character sheet, what you need, and try to adjust it pretty much from what you find. Blessings, I would recommend Void Resistance, All Res, or Crit Avoidance. Here I would actually recommend to go Armor instead of Endurance, but both are pretty good. Increased Armor, Lightning Resistance, just go full defensives here because the damage is already really strong. You can just make your gearing a lot easier if you focus a little bit more on defenses, and the damage is already there. It's one of the easiest builds to level, one of the strongest in the end game. So yeah, really classic, strong Shadow Daggers build. That's the reason why I played it. I only, like I said, use it for speed farming to get my gear. And if I want to swap to some harder content like T4, I go for Chakram. I would actually play this build for Arena also, because like I said, you can kite a lot, you're really fast, you can kill enemies behind you. But yeah, really good all-rounder. I'm actually looking forward to how the patch notes will look like for this build, how hard the nerf will be if there's a nerf. So yeah, we will see. I keep you guys updated. If you have any questions, just let me know. As always, I will link the build planner, also with like a leveling guide for it, so that you can see like the leveling bar, how to put the points. And yeah, as always, if you have questions, just let me know. Thanks for watching, and see you guys soon.